Welcome, Neusa Catoja, to Book Lovers Corner. And it is going to be an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Your beautiful, beautiful book that you sent me is called, if you'd like to tell our audience.
Soul of a Woman, A Journey to Self-Love.
It is beautiful. The cover is amazing. I
Thank you.
will put a copy of the cover in the like photo that we do for this podcast because it is absolutely amazing. The
Thank you.
imagery in the back as well.
Thank you.
Not to mention what's in between the covers. So we're not going to let them know too much because we
hmm
really, I actually want people to add this to their bookshelf.
Lovely.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, not just for it to get dusty. Before this connection happened in regards to the podcast, because we keep it real, we were actually discussing. I tend to treat this book like a reference tool,
Mm,
and it comes out more often than I thought it would. And I
mm.
may even have to order another copy because this one's going to get dogged and tattered. And I don't want to write in it because it's a
Mm,
book. It's not just something to read, it's something to
mm.
it really is. It is something.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for putting your heart and soul
Mm,
into this, with
yeah.
the soul of a woman and what a woman you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I feel like that was the introduction in itself.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Flowed, yeah. It just flowed. It's all from the heart, just flicking through the pages and like I'm saying, just seeing some of the quotes and some of the things and the poems and stuff that's in here. So I'm
Mm,
not going to give away too much.
mm.
My first question, albeit we're totally unprepared and you never know what I'm going to ask you, is
Yeah, I
what
was thinking now, I was like, where's my questions in advance?
that's it. That's it. These times we do it off the cuff because whatever we feel
Yeah,
to say kind of comes out. And
yeah,
I think that's how we are as women. From what I know of you, your
yeah.
interaction, you just bring a beautiful energy.
Thank you, thank you.
You really are. So, what inspired you? Not really what inspired you. Not what forced you, but why did you feel the need to create this particular book?
I guess it was my own personal journey. Um, when you ask for something, you always receive it. And I remember because everything in this book was about a dark place I was in my life for like 4.5 years. And it was, depression, anxiety, whatever label you want to give it. I went through it. But before I went through it, I was actually a personal trainer, and I kept saying, I want to coach people, I want to coach women, but I didn't know what coaching was about.
Mm,
And when you try to be something other than what you are, you always get these negative beliefs. And when I was trying to coach the women and talk to the women in the gym, rather than me training them, I prefer to talk to them. When I decided to be a coach and to offer 1 hour online coaching to them away from the personal training, I felt like I didn't know enough to be a coach. I felt like, how can I be a coach when I've never trained, I've never got the qualifications, I've never experienced anything such as depression, such as anything bad in my life. I hadn't experienced it. So, I felt like a bit of a fraud. But I
mm,
asked God and I prayed back at that time. I was like, I just want to be a coach. So basically, God was not going to give me what I didn't have experience in yet. So I had to go through it. I went through it. When
mm,
I came out the other side, I then started to heal myself naturally because I didn't believe that a pill could fix me.
mm-hmm.
And when I started to heal myself naturally, writing just came naturally and poetry came naturally. I did not know. I've never even written a poem when I was younger. I started writing poems online. If you're blessed to see my very first poem, I don't even know, that was 2 years ago. I
Yeah,
just started writing and it flowed, and I just started sharing my poetry on Facebook. And
yeah,
then people close to me were like, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. But because during my breakdown and my breakthrough, I wrote a lot of journals. I had all my story written in all these different journals, whether it was good, bad, ugly, everything was in these journals.
yeah.
So when I started writing the poetry, I was like, okay, I can do a poetry book. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a poetry book. But then being guided by my book confidence coach, who I asked to publish the book,
Mm,
I was then advised to put a bit more about my story. And then when I sat down to write those words, it flowed. I didn't have to edit. I didn't have to change it. I could sit on my computer, and after a few poems, I would then write what happened to me, what I went through, and what I had to do to overcome, and then exercises. So the poems came naturally. My story was already within me, and I just put it on a piece of paper, and the words, 29,000 words later, I've got a book. So
Wow.
that's how I can say my story was born.
Yeah. So did it take long to kind of put it together and compile it because you had so much of the sort of, content available? What was it like kind of putting it all in the order that it's in? Was that pre-thought, or was it something that kind of came together as the book developed?
It came together. So I had the poems, and then when I decided to have a publisher,
Yeah.
get it done. When I decided, when I decided to have Winsome Duncan, who's my publisher, publish the book for me,
Yeah.
her guidance and advice was, you know what, a poetry book will be good for you, Neusa, but since you're a coach, why don't you coach people in this book? Why don't you add your um, personal story at the
Yeah.
same time? Use it to help people. And I thought, okay, cool, a self-help book would be good. But when I was in a dark place, and I don't like to name the label, when I was in a dark place, I tried all different books. I tried all these self-help books, but books that said to me, be positive, say affirmations, say all of these things. It didn't feel natural to me because I'm like, I was so caught in the darkness
Yeah.
that reading a book wasn't going to give me the light.
Yeah.
So when I started to write my book, I had the poem. So I had 600 words when I went to a Just Write It workshop by my publisher.
Yes.
I only had 600 words actually from poems. So I had a journal full of poems, completely full of different poems of my own experiences. Then I started typing them on a computer. So I had 600 words, right?
Yeah.
When I went to the Just Write It workshop, within a month, I had 29,000 words.
And I totally relate to where it is that you're coming from. Um, I recently was asked to write a very short piece, and it was 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And I realized that once I got writing, I couldn't stop. I've
Right.
always written. Yeah, ever
Yeah.
since I was a child, I've written.
Mm,
Unfortunately, my diary was read when I was young, and that stopped me writing. Or
right.
and then a lot of it was kept in my head. And
Mhm.
quite recently, I found a notepad from a job
Mhm.
that I used to do, and I used to sit in a lot of meetings, and my brain used to wander and drift. So I looked like
Mhm.
I was really involved in what I was listening to, but I really wasn't. I'll be honest. Hence why I don't do that job anymore. But
Mhm.
I realised how much I was still writing, but in secret.
Mhm.
So it was
Yeah.
actually hidden in all of these other places, like notepads, from work, little files that I'd sit and type
Mm.
things while I'd be at my desk, again
Mhm.
at work, and I'd email them to myself
Mm.
as a way of kind of getting stuff out in a really
Yep.
weird way, and then being completely detached from it by emailing. So I went through my emails quite recently after finding this note
Mm.
and realized that I've
Mm.
got 300 emails that I've actually sent to myself from varying different
Wow.
companies over the years.
Wow.
Working. Yeah, so hence why I
So that's
picked.
your story right there, isn't it?
Yes. What I've
Mm.
realized is that it's a lot. You say that
Mhm.
dark place. Mine is
Mhm.
very dark, and it lasted for a long period of time.
Mm.
So rather than me kind of putting it into one book, the
Mhm.
wonderful book publishing and book confidence coach, yes,
Mhm.
Winston, has helped me divide what she's heard me, in ownership of what I've actually written. And there's like
Right.
4 books, that
Wow.
I could potentially write. And
Wow.
we align so much with, like you said, these self-help books where they tell you to
Mhm.
positive and do affirmations and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what I think about myself. So how can I say
Mm.
I am? Because at this
Right.
moment, all I felt was I am, pants, I am poo, I'm not very well,
Right.
I'm ill. And I was claiming a lot of stuff. And I
Mm.
had to realize that I had to change my circle of friends. Let's just keep
Right.
it real. And
Yep.
that's where my healing really began. It wasn't just the writing, it now became the reading and the healing.
Right, the action.
The action, yeah,
Yep.
implementing and seeing other people heal, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And how did they do it? And having really practical tools.
Mm.
We can be very blunt about what it is they've been through, very blunt about how they are healing, what they do, and
Yeah.
what they implement. And with,
Yeah.
the way all of the niceties, all the sugar coatedness that I was finding
Mm.
in self-help books, pull yourself together,
Yeah.
get up and do something.
Right.
I'm like, I don't even know what I like, let alone get up and do something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the reason
Yeah.
to get up was my thing. That was
Mm.
where I was at until someone gave me a reason to actually get up. It didn't matter what positivity you were trying to inject into my life because I simply don't want to get out of bed.
Right. Exactly. So how do you get out of bed?
Yeah,
That's what you want to know. Yeah.
that's right. That's the question. So when, I stumbled across you, albeit via accident, via Windsor,
Yeah.
nothing in this world isn't actually an accident or a coincidence. There wasn't a
Not
reason.
at all.
I maybe
Not
just not
at all.
do it at the time.
Mm.
And since then, seeing what you do on Facebook, seeing what you do on Instagram, the way you speak to other women about how to
Mm.
empower themselves, that is a gift.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that is
you.
a gift. No amount of like studying or counseling or qualifications was really going to give you your true gift. And I feel like you're
Right.
fulfilling your purpose.
Right.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And that's all I ever wanted to hear when I said to myself that I wanted to coach women. And when I was a personal trainer, what I wanted to do was make women happy,
Yeah,
empower them. So when I used to train women physically, it was all about weights. It was all about the physical, the strength, the agility, what people will see. I never really realized it was about the mind.
mm-hmm.
And when I started to actually look at women and talk to women, and they had all of these emotional issues, I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah,
I'm helping them to transform their bodies, but they still weren't happy because they're still going back home and telling me they're overeating. And I
yeah,
used to think it was very simple. I used to be like, yeah, well, just stop eating. If you want to lose weight, just stop eating.
yeah,
And I realized that it's not just stop this, like you said with the self-help books. It's not stop saying negative things and start saying positive things. It really isn't. It
no,
really is about what's actually causing us to feel negative. It's our emotions. What's
definitely.
causing us to be angry is the suppression of our emotions. What's
Yeah,
causing us to be frustrated is because we're not being heard. What's
yeah.
causing us to be,
Okay.
feel shameful is
Yeah,
because we were told that we can't do certain things
yeah,
because if we do certain things, we're this and we're that and we're this.
yeah. And I
So,
think to that by saying that I was defensive because I couldn't be vulnerable.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. That word vulnerable for me was weakness.
yeah,
Vulnerability meant I'm weak.
exactly. Oh my,
Right.
exactly.
Exactly. Even the way I just said that, vulnerability means I'm weak. It doesn't feel good to me to say that I'm weak. It really doesn't. It feels like I've now got this positive voice saying, no, you're not. Your
Mm-hmm.
weakness is your strength. So all I've equipped myself, and what I wanted for women in this book is to equip themselves with as soon as you get that negative word, because we're always going to get them, or you're
Yeah.
going to hear it from someone, from society, from your own loved ones, from people that you believe are friends, which is why you have to change your circle of people, is
Yes.
that you're equipped with the tools that you need to protect yourself and your emotions and to realize that your authenticity is you. And if
Yeah.
people don't like that, then you're not here to be liked.
Not by
Goodbye and move
them.
forward.
That's right.
Then
That's
move forward. To some
it.
people, it might sound like, oh, that's selfish. How can you do that? It's not selfish. It means self love. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Because selfish, if you're being selfish, everybody's selfish. And
Mm-hmm.
what's wrong with that? And that's why I say in some of my poems, what is wrong with being selfish?
Yes. Well,
Selfish means you're healing, right? You
yeah,
heal yourself, so then you
totally.
can be selfless.
And this is where
And
I was using those words in a slightly more negative way and implementing that in my own life. So I
right,
wasn't giving
right.
myself any self-love. I felt
Mm,
worthless.
mm,
And then the love I was giving to others, I was using that as like a selfless love.
right.
Like the more I poured, was
Yeah.
the happier I should have been,
Mm.
was pouring into my cup,
Right.
especially the way that I needed them to.
Mm.
And
I know. And
yeah,
then you find out that they can't. You actually find out that they cannot pour into you.
no,
Only you can pour into yourself.
yeah, I couldn't
You
look
know.
for validation, happiness, peace from
Right.
anybody else. I literally
Right.
had to learn how to find that space within myself.
Exactly.
And that's what the
Exactly.
book really did stress to me, especially with the exercises. I've
Mm.
actually got 3 books that have exercises throughout
Mm.
and in the back, and things
Amazing.
to actually continuously work on and work with.
Mm.
And I lost myself quite recently, I must admit. The last
Mm.
5, 6 weeks have actually been really difficult, maybe even 8 weeks. I've
Mm.
felt very unbalanced.
Mm.
I have had to reread your book
Mm.
in certain sections, and another man's book, Davis J. Williams, again,
Mm-hmm. Oh
worked
wow.
closely with us, with Winsome and that sort of thing.
Oh yes, I know David. I might actually buy his book. That sounds
Yeah,
good.
I've got both of his books, and yeah, I'm
Mm.
very much an advocate for reading books written
Mm.
by men as well, purely on the
Yeah.
basis it helps me sort of, be more aligned with the world in balance, to kind of get an insight into how they think and how they feel, as well as myself.
Mm.
So I've had to really like draw for some tools, is what I call them, and find some groundation and some foundations. And this is what
Yeah.
I get from your book, is not just the quotes, not just, it's the exercise,
Mm.
seeing you online visually as well makes me want to
Mm.
get and stretch and do my yoga and breathe.
Yeah.
So when I heard your voice this morning, being intuitive, I could kind of hear there was like an underlying concern. And
Mm.
you explained that you hadn't sort of done your morning routine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one thing that, for me, for the last 2.5, nearly 3 years, my morning routine has been like interfered with for various
Right.
reasons.
Right.
And once I realized that that was how I would need to start my day every day without fail,
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle changed.
Yeah.
I felt
It
like my
does.
health has changed.
It does.
And
It
again,
really
having
does.
a book by my side to be able to just flip it open on a page and kind of read a title or read a few lines from the poem and kind of go, oh, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
that's how I feel. Yeah, love it. Okay. And, it's just, yeah, it just feels like I've got like an army on my bookshelf,
Mm. And I
and
like how you put that, having an army on your bookshelf, because everything really starts with you. You're
yeah,
the one that has to pick up the book. You're the one that has to feed your mind with the right things.
yeah,
You're the one that has to surround yourself with the right people. You're the one that has to learn to say no to people and say yes to you. Because if you don't do it, you can't blame no one else for what you
correct.
haven't done.
Yes,
So everything in your surroundings has to be positive for you to feel positive. And there's going to be days when you don't.
yeah,
We're women. At the end of the day, we have our monthlies, right? During our monthlies, which I'm currently on at the moment, and I'm proud to say because I am a
mm.
female, you do get very emotional.
Yeah,
So when I woke up this morning, I
mm,
woke up very emotional. I was like, what's going on? I didn't sleep well. I was tired.
yeah,
There's still a there's still a human part of us that just wants to just can't be bothered to get out of bed. What got me out of bed was a screaming child outside who broke his arm.
yeah,
So selflessly,
that
I
time.
forgot about me and I
Yeah,
went to help them. So
hmm,
my morning routine was thrown out the window. But
yeah,
then I know what I need to feed myself with. So
yeah,
I go back and I
yeah,
start again. I
that,
don't blame myself and go, right, I should have done it at 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't do it because
yeah,
of this. I don't blame because I'm not in control of situations and surroundings, things that happen around me, but
hmm,
I'm in control of myself.